Maybe. Okay, Woo, child. Should I like tell people on come back? This has never happened, guys.
I'm sorry. Oh
my
funny.
God.
That's so funny.
Let me see. I know it's been a minute, but come back. Come back, y'all. We're back. We're back live.
We
figured it out. We don't know what happened. The devil is a liar. Okay. Come back.
Oh,
not me. I didn't press the record button. It's just foolishness. Okay, y'all.
Wait, I'm recording, right? I'm live.
Yeah, we're both live.
We're both live.
Yep.
Yeah,
we're back. Come back. Come back. Should I call somebody?
Wait, I'm recording, right?
Yep. Okay, so that's Cole's pitch. Okay, we got a viewer. Tell your friends, come back.
There we go.
Yeah, we're both live. Come back. I gotta go to my personal page.
That's so funny.
Oh, should we wait for people? Or...
Well,
yeah, if we don't wait, they're not missing nothing. We're just starting over.
Right.
Okay.
There we go.
And I'm gonna leave it like that. I ain't editing nothing.
Nothing.
This is a mess.
On that cut. That's how we do.
Okay.
See, you worried about the engines going fast.
Not no more. Shoot. I see what you're doing, God. Okay, y'all, come on back. We're back up. The devil tried to play us, but God said, come on back. Okay, so we got now refresh thing on pages and come on back. All right, let's just get into the conversation.
For sure.
So okay, we're starting over. Welcome back to everybody who got kicked off the last one. We had a little malfunction with the microphones. I thank you that some people are already coming back in. Thank you so much, y'all. We live and we learn. I'm learning from this experience. So yeah, welcome back to the show, Poise Pitch. We go live every Tuesday at 8. We try not to have these hiccups. Eastern Standard Time. We try not to have these hiccups, and when it happens, we just pivot. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, the bell to be notified when we go live each time. Come back next week and every week after that, and come back if we ever get kicked off again. Like, don't just go home. Like, come back. For those of you who are on the go, we have a podcast that we post. I'm just really thrown right now.
You're doing great. You're good.
For those of you who are always on the go, we do have a podcast. It is shorter, more refined. You can find it on Spotify, Apple, and Google. And you can catch everything at poisepitch.com. So again, today we have Azizi Jasper. He is a new face to me, but he's a vet in the game. His name has already been dropped in a previous episode, the premiere to be exact. So yeah, Azizi Jasper.
Definitely, man. Super excited to be here. This is really dope. You're building such an amazing platform. You're doing something really important. So I'm glad to be here.
Thank you so much. You see the devil trying to come after me. I must be doing something real big.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. That's how it goes, man. We roll with the punches, and anytime something is live, there anything can happen. There's so many different variables. So yeah, you don't worry about it. You're doing something amazing. So
thank you so much.
Absolutely.
So we're gonna jump right back into first base again, but I'm excited to dive right back in. Let's see. You guys can go ahead and submit your questions and comments if you have any. Thank you so much for making us aware that you guys could not hear us. I do apologize for that inconvenience. And I thank you guys for coming back in. I really appreciate it. Okay, so again, Azizi. So you just told us your name is Azizi Jasper. That's your birth name.
Yep, Azizi
your parents are that cool Jasper, and that clever.
Birth name, my parents are that cool and that clever. I was telling you, I was going by, the token Black poet as a moniker, for quite a few years. And ended up having a show, it made sense when I was in Grand Rapids because I was one of the few, Black folks that was hosting at the time in the city. But when I went on tour and started to go these different places, I had a show down in Atlanta, and they introduced me. It was in a comedy club, and they introduced me as, the token Black poet. And somebody from the back yelled out, "Man, you the lightest person in here," And I was like, okay, that was hilarious for one, but it's also true, and everything is relative. So, if your name doesn't make sense everywhere, it might not make sense anywhere. But what does make sense is your God-given name. And I have two incredible parents that spent that were, you know, pretty creative in naming me. So
Yes.
so
Yes.
it
And what
works
did you
out.
say Azizi stood for again?
Azizi is beloved or precious.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for sharing that.
for sure.
The next question that someone had submitted was, how long have you been writing, or how did you get into poetry?
Man, I've been writing forever. You know, first it was, of course, learning, you know, how to write, and then once I learned how to write, cursive cursive always was interesting to me. You know, I never really liked writing freehand that much, but cursive kind of made it fun, and I, you know, appreciated the aesthetic uh, of it. So uh, I've always been an artist through and through, but for whatever reason, my mom, much to my mom's, you know, chagrin, I didn't, you know, keep playing the saxophone. So I don't, you know, play any instruments per se, and I don't sing unless I'm in the car or the shower. So, you know, there are these different, like, I'm an artist through and through, but I don't really have a medium. Um, Writing became my medium. Writing became the way that I, you know, got creative and really expressed myself. And, um, learning that I could memorize a poem, you know, for me took place in uh, third grade. I had a teacher by the name of Sister Karen, and she gave us an assignment to, you know, go home and read a poem, and then the next day she was going to call on, you know, one lucky student to, you know, read the piece, and I was the student that she called on. And I read the poem when I went home, not because I was into poetry at the time, but because my mom made sure I did all my homework, right? So, you know, I read the piece and I didn't think much of it, and came back the next day, and I was the person that she, you know, asked to recite the piece, and I recited it, and I realized that I had most of it like committed to memory just from hearing it, you know, that one time.
Wow.
And yeah, that was a powerful. I still have it, you know, committed to memory, and it's like it was a powerful moment because that was like the time that I realized that I could, you know, memorize something, especially if it had a certain amount of rhythm to it, just like getting the song stuck in your head. So, learning that worked with my own writing was, you know, really probably the pivotal point that turned me from, you know, a poet that was just, you know, scribbling things in, you know, his notebook to somebody that felt confident to be able to step on a stage and host a show and that sort of
Yeah, you know, hearing your story about how the teacher just so happened to choose you, and you said
thing.
one lucky person, it wasn't like multiple people.
Yeah, no,
Like that just speaks to me. I heard, I think I want to say I heard a preacher say that. Yeah, it was a preacher. That's what the TV I do watch.
Gotcha.
He said that your history normally speaks to your future, and I just think that wasn't just like a coincidence. You know, like
Definitely.
that was a point that started something, and it was like a ripple effect, and look at where you are now.
Yeah,
Look at the
absolutely.
waves you're creating.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you know, empowerment comes in, you know, strange places. You know, it's not always, you know, watching some motivational speech and then feeling like you're about to, you know, attack your day, you know, in a new way.
Take
You
on
know,
the world.
right, exactly. Like sometimes, you know, you can, um, you know, when you called me earlier and, you know, I pulled in and I was a little bit late, and I was preoccupied because I asked you, you know, if I was in the right spot, but the sunset was so beautiful at the time. And I was like, yo, the sun is so, I'm like, she probably thinks that I'm just like such a, you know, an airhead because I am pulling up late and I'm talking to her about the sunset, right?
No,
But
not at all. Not at all. I'm like, he appreciates the small things.
yes, honestly, man, like that's where inspiration comes from. Wherever, you know, inspiration comes from, you know, empowerment is not far behind. So, um, you know, that's why, you know, with the youth, making sure that they can explore all their options and letting them know that everything is, you know, possible at the moment, because you never know what somebody has inside of them until, you know, it's unlocked.
Yes. Oh, that was a nice little response right there. One of my questions prior to us conversing, but now that I've talked to you, of course, poetry is your passion. So I'm gonna just move to another question, which is, what are you just as or more passionate about than poetry? Could be just as much passion or more.
Definitely. Liberation for the African diaspora.
Wait. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm a Pan-Africanist, right? And I really believe in I really believe that melanated people throughout the planet have been just underserved for the past 10,000 or so years. The beautiful thing about that is that's a like brief snapshot in the history of humanity, because we've been on this planet for some hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years. So the little, 500 to 6,000 years that we have been oppressed, is a snapshot in time. But we need to be intentional on our liberation and on lifting each other up, because the time that we have been in bondage and the time that we have been confused and the time that we have been put in the situation that we're in has lasted a lot longer than it needs to. So I believe in perpetuating and infusing, Black privilege as much as I can. I believe I am my brothers and sisters, keeper. And my writing and and Black empowerment and empowerment for my people and underserved people goes hand in hand. So I write so that someone can read what I say, or someone can hear what I say, and be sparked to better their life and to empower themselves and to not feel less than because they're darker skin or darker complected, or not feel less than because they're the only Black person in the room, or not feel less than because they're the only Black woman in the room, or whatever the case may be, but to feel empowered by our greatness and feel connected by our melanin. And
as we should, because Black is power.
Absolutely. We just have to liberate ourselves, man. So I'm more passionate about that than I would say I am about poetry, but it goes hand in hand.
Hey, Auntie.
Hey,
Auntie. You said one of my favorite words, which is intentional. And I feel like I was gonna ask you, what do you feel sets you apart from other poets? But I feel like in your last answer, I mean, I don't want to jump the gun, but I feel like that there is a big thing. Like, a lot of people write just to be writing, and they're not as really intentional as they could be. And you have like things that you're passionate about, and you're trying to, like you said, you're trying to inspire.
For sure.
And I feel like you put yourself and the way you think and the way you feel into your poetry.
Absolutely, 100%. I've been telling people for a while that I enjoy hosting because I enjoy showcasing other artists, but hosting forces you to do a lot of your work, right? I've been doing weekly shows, right? I'm serving, right? So you're doing a lot of your pieces, and when you do pieces, you quickly start to know what makes the audience react and what doesn't, right? And when you know what makes the audience react, it's easy to play toward that, right? And once you start playing toward that, you're not writing for yourself anymore. You're writing for somebody else, right? I always write for myself. I'm intentional in making sure that I don't want any two pieces of mine to sound the same, right? Because I think that that's boring. I can write the same piece over and over in different ways, 100 times, and a lot of artists do. They write about the same, 3 subject matters, and they write in the exact same way. And to me, that's boring because, again, this is my medium. This is how I paint. This is how I construct things, right? So I don't want to paint with the same color every time, because that's boring. So I just pride myself in the challenge of not sounding like any other poet and not writing poems that remind myself of any other poet.
Okay, I don't know if you see my eyes getting watery. I think it's partially in what you were saying because it's real deep and inspiring, but then it's also like me seeing the numbers like rising after we had the technical difficulties.
Somebody's listening to us?
Yeah. And I'm like, I just really want to say thank y'all for coming back. Like, y'all could have been like, look, technical difficulties, I'm on my way.
Back like we never left.
Okay, and I just like, what you were saying was already moving me, but then I'm like, thank y'all for coming back and listening to us. This is for y'all.
You know what though? Real talk. But I've learned this from hosting. If I have a show at Detroit Shipping Company, and the show has stopped and started for 3 times because of COVID, right? Like we got it off the ground before COVID, got our audience together. It was like super dope. And then we had some scheduling conflicts with the venue or whatever, so couldn't do every week. And then the pandemic hit, and we were trying to start a new show in the midst of this, and we just looked super janky, right? So after COVID, knock on wood, hopefully, if there is such a thing, we're doing our show now, and it's been a slow burn, right? So the days that I come in and there's nobody there, I have learned if I don't start the show, nothing will happen. Like people will like look in or whatever, and then they'll look out. They'll say, "Oh, there's no show or whatever," and the show will not happen. If you start the show, if you say that you have a show at 8 o'clock, you say you have a show at 7 o'clock, and you start the show, and you're the only person in there. If you start the show, somebody will come, and if somebody comes, somebody else will see them sitting there, and they will wonder why they're sitting there, and they will come. But if you don't start the show, there will never be a show. So you just gotta start the show.
Invisible tears still falling. Okay. Show us some love in the comments. I'm like really enjoying this conversation.
No, this is dope.
So we've been talking a lot. We talked before the little break we had.
The break.
And through a lot of this conversing, I'm learning that this is me assuming, and this is me assuming off of your entries for the submissions for the show,
mm-hmm.
and just the conversations we've been having. I feel like you can write about anything. I feel like you're just one of those poets that could like write about a brick if you wanted to, or a biscuit, and then it'll be something. I mean, I don't know if I'm assuming that, but I feel like you're like a true poetic divergent. And I don't think that's not my question, but my question is, what is the most random thing that you've ever written a poem about? Your random might not be my random, but like
right. I think a fruit fly. A fruit fly that flew in my cup.
You wrote a poem about it.
Yeah, I was having a glass of wine and it like flew in there or whatever, and it was like, as fruit flies are, yeah. And I wrote a poem about it called "Damn Fruit Fly," and it was funny. I felt bad too because I don't know. I'm a conservationist, right? Like even though in this growth, I'm a conservationist, but I'm terrified of bugs. So it's a weird position that I'm in, right? Because when a bug is in the crib, I gotta not kill it, but I also need it to not be in the crib, right? So it's a whole, there's just a whole production. But yeah, I think that's probably the most random thing I've ever written a poem about was the fruit fly that met its death by flying into my glass of wine.
Okay. So I'm ready to hear this pitch, especially after hearing about this fruit fly poem that I low-key want to hear. So let's jump right into the pitch, y'all. I'm so excited. Y'all should be excited. I got the entry and I was like, not that face. Lord Jesus. And also, let me just add, so we're only on the 3rd episode, and certain people be bringing gifts, and he's a giver. He brought me his book. Look at there. And I'm so excited. And I just want to say, we're going to say this at the end, but I just want to say now, for anybody who got to go, y'all got to get his book.
Word. BarnesandNoble.com.
That part.
COINTELPRO.
That part. Okay, so let me put you on. All right. Oh, what poem are you pitching to the people?
So this piece is called VERB APPLES. It's the title of my second book that will be out this time next year. My first book, COINTELPRO, Shameless Blood, is like a compilation of my fiery, what we got to do to get the man up off of us sort of poems, right? And at first, this is my first book, and it was going to be a compilation of a bunch of different stuff, stream of consciousness, and it was about to be like 300 pages. And I was talking to my brother Diz about it or whatever. He was like, man, ain't nobody gonna read 300 pages of your poetry. So it's like,
split it up.
It's a tough love, right? Yeah, so split it up. So this is my, super political, very, very pro-Black, very, humanitarian sort of poetry. VERB APPLES is going to be my book of love poems and relationship poems and just,
We love love, don't we all?
We love love, yes. So this is the title piece off of my next book, which will be entitled Verb Apples. And I know that will make no sense to anybody until they hear this piece.
Yes, I'm so ready, y'all. It's so good.
That's kind of the point.
I feel like we really dragging him along.
All right. I want to verb the noun out of you until you feel a verb in your noun, girl. To take you places, pronoun, haven't verbed before and probably can't. Pronoun. Whispering adjective nothings into your ear to get noun to verb for me like snowflakes from the air. Watching your adjective, ass, silhouette, while you verb away makes our goodbyes adjective even when I verb for you to stay. Noun make noun absolutely verb and noun don't even know it. Enthralled with your adjective essence makes proper noun a very adjective, man. The way that she verb made me want to put a noun on her. Might have a couple little nouns verbing around the crib. She is much too complete preposition for her to have ever verbed from any man's rib. She is the noun of my eye. An adverb, they say. A noun a day keeps the nouns away, but verb apples. I would much prefer to verb her. And I'm going to tell her everything as soon as I can find the word.
What? Y'all. So first of all, let's go into the dugout because that was a bomb pitch. Yes, and start typing those questions and comments and send them on over so we can get to them.
Appreciate that. I'm reading the comments. That's dope. So I said period. That's what's up. Let's go.
Yes.
I appreciate that, man. That's beautiful.
Show love. Okay, so originally he submitted a different fire poem, and I was ready for that one. But then what was it, like a couple of days ago, he was like, I think I got something else that you would like for the show. And I'm like, okay, so go ahead and send it over. You can send a couple for the show. We'll see what we're gonna do. When he sent that one, I was like, that was good.
Thank you.
Like, you better, okay. I love it. Noun blown. Yes, clever. Okay, you get comment of the year. Comment of the episode for sure. Yes. Yeah, you first of all. Yeah, yes. Okay. I'll let EA get the first question. How did you father it?
How did I father that piece? So I love the freedom of poetry, but I still think it can be more free than it typically is. And that for me is almost the like poetic equivalent to a choose your own adventure sort of piece. Because you have like the words that you automatically like place there, right? And and it's not necessarily the words that I as the author might intend. When I say I want to noun the verb out of you, it could be I want to hug the mess out of you. I want to talk the sense into you. I want to love the life out of you. There's so many different ways that could go. But I think a lot of people hear it and they might get the most vile connotation from it, right? And it's the genesis of that piece came when I went to this erotic poetry show. And, we talked about erotica a little bit earlier, whatever. I'm not saying like, I respect, writers who write whatever, but it's not really my cup of tea because it doesn't leave much to the imagination. And when you don't leave much to the imagination, it's hard to dig deeper, you know. And I want people when they hear my poetry to, you know, maybe hear one connotation one time and then hear it again and have something hear something entirely different. And I think that this piece is kind of the personification, you know, of that.
Not him answering my question before I can ask it. You made a lot of good points, which I gathered, and that's what I wanted to say. I like to be the first to say it, so then I can kind of mess with you. Like, did you just say that because I said it? I know I did that to Irvin on his episode, but I love the fill in the blank, the innuendo, the flow of this poem. Like, it's so fun. It's like I read it one time, and I was like, initially I just was like, oh, he nasty, but then I read it again. I'm like, well, actually, it really depends on the character of the person who's listening.
Right. You nasty.
In the mood too, because one minute I read it and I got one thing, and then I was like, oh, it could be this. Like it's one of those poems that each time it could be a different story. That is so dope. Like, depending on my mood or what I could be single and have one experience reading your poem, and then I could be dating, and you know, like
right. Yeah, that's the intention. Like it's really. It's a living, breathing, you know, piece, because it can be a different piece every time you read it. Like if you put your own imagination into it, and then if you don't put your imagination into it, and you think, you know, that you feel what the author, you know, is saying or whatever.
It's not gonna be
you know, as the author, I can say every time so this was a piece. This was a completed piece that had the words that didn't have like the parts of speech like pointed out. And the piece was cool, but I was like, yo, this would be way doper if like this was multiple pieces and I just put different words in or whatever. And then I'm like, well, that's gonna take a lot of time. So how about I just take words out and I just leave it up to the reader, you know?
That is so dope.
Yeah, so it ended up being really dope. I'm proud of it because it's you know, it's just like a living, breathing piece, and you know, and that's why it's the title of my next book, because people are gonna be like, "Yo, VERB Apples, that sounds ridiculous," like, you know. But if you know, you know, and when you hear it, you will know. And that book is because it's about relationships, because it's about love. Everybody has had a relationship, whether it's a good relationship, bad relationship. You know, every adult, by the time you reach adulthood or whatever, has had a relationship, whether it's a romantic relationship, whether it's a relationship with, you know, somebody that, you know, whatever the case may be. Life is about relationships.
Before I get to some of these people's questions, I have, so it's funny that you are specifically talking like in this field, because when I read it the second time, because I read it a couple times, like I'm that way with anything, but when I read it the second time, I said, oh, this will make a dope like Valentine's Day Sweetest Day card. Not the whole poem, but like just that whole like theme. I think that's just so dope. Then I was like,
holla at a brother, for real.
That part. Right now. Don't wait for them. But what I had the funniest thought. So I don't watch TV, but I did just I like love. I really love. And so it's this show, a black show. What is it? I don't remember names. I don't watch that much. But I watched the reunion part.
Okay.
And there was a guy. So I don't watch the whole episode. I just watched. I feel like you get everything from the reunion, right? Am I not the only person who feels that way?
That's Cliff Notes.
Yeah, that part. So one of the guys from the show, he was talking to multiple women, and he was saying the same thing to every woman. And I feel like with this point, I was like, oh, he probably low key a player. I felt like if you were in his shoes, right, and you gave this poem to each woman, like each woman's gonna think what they want to think, so they'd sit down on the table and be like, oh, he said this. Well, he used a different noun for me. Oh, he used a different verb for me. Like, you know, I just thought that was so cool, because, like I said, it's like depending on who's reading it, it's gonna be a different situation. So I like that's like player vibes right there. Like, don't even say the exact words. If you got multiple, I ain't trying to get nobody no cheat code, but if you got multiple women, this is the type of you take some notes. Azizi got you together.
I do not co-sign on that. No, but no. See, no. The thing is, though, the beauty of this is it's freedom, right? And that's what I think all relationships, you know, should be, you know, about or whatever. It should be about, you know, freedom. And like this piece is a piece where, because it's not set in stone, and because it doesn't just mean one thing, and because you can have a different perception of it and you're meant to have a different perception of it, than the other person that reads it or another person that reads it, it has like limitless potential, I think, for interpretation, you know?
Yeah.
As do, you know, as do relationships. It's interesting if you're in a relationship with somebody that isn't shallow, that actually takes some sort of thought to understand. I think those end up being, you know, the best relationships. Those end up being the best poems. Somebody that, you know, you just you know, meet and you just, you know, hit it off, you know, or whatever, and the conversation is shallow and everything is surface level. It might be fun in the moment.
To those messages.
Right, there you see, right, it might be fun in the moment, right? Or you're, you know, the inbox might be filled with those sorts of people, but when you engage with them, you realize how, you know, temporary those things, you know, tend to be. Any poem that you want to read more than once,
that's a darn good poem.
That's a darn good poem.
And even like for me, when I read, I said, "Shoot!" Like, cause it's not a simple poem, but it's like
it is though, but it's not.
But I don't want to call it simple.
Right.
But I was just like, when I read a poem and it's got me like, dang, why not write this? That's when I know, like, oh God, yes, this is so good.
That's the best compliment that I have ever received as a creative. Is like, I wish I would have thought of that first. You know,
yeah, that's literally how I felt when I read it. So that's a compliment.
Good. Thank you.
So one of the questions we have is, what about that noun piece? This is the, sir.
I think this. Oh, I get it. Oh, okay. I'm like, this is a noun piece. Oh, I get it. What about that?
Resonates with you?
Yeah.
The writer the most, and why?
What about it resonates with me the most? I think is the freedom for it to mean multiple things. And also that I've never written a piece, you know, like this before, and I will never write a piece like this, you know, again. So I like the challenge of, no matter how impressed I may personally be with anything that I write, I like the challenge of impressing myself more with the next piece.
That part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like anything dope just means like something doper is gonna happen, because I'm always gonna write, and I'm always going to challenge myself to write something better than the last piece.
I gotta get nosy, because you be answering my questions before I can ask, and I gotta get in your business. So I know you said that this poem came after an erotic situation.
An erotic. An erotic open mic.
Yeah.
Talk about an erotic situation.
That's what you said. That's the storyline. But did anybody come to mind when you wrote this poem that allowed you to get into that place? Like, was you thinking about Teyana Taylor? Like, we want to know.
I wasn't, but that's a damn good guess, because I love Teyana.
Who doesn't?
Right. But no, you know what? All of my pieces are, and this is not my politically correct answer, this is the truth. Like, all of my pieces are inspired by bits and pieces of my life, right? Very few, unless I've, you know, sat and, you know, girl, I wrote you this poem. Every piece has a piece of you know, a partner or a conversation that I've had with somebody, or, you know, and even if it's a more erotic piece, it doesn't necessarily mean that it came out of an erotic moment, right? Just as, right. You know, this piece or whatever, like, it didn't come from, you know, making passionate love to somebody and waking up the next morning and, oh, I wrote a poem. Like, no, it came from me. I was
reminiscing.
Yeah, I'm reminiscing. No, it came from me, you know, going to an open mic and hearing erotica, yourself. And I challenged myself to, for one, write something that I could read to my grandma, but I could also get a strong response
with other people
in the nastiest of venues, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, I like that challenge, because a lot of times if you know, somebody sits down to write, you know, a poem that's more erotic or whatever, like, it's, you know, their grandmom is the furthest thing that's on their mind, you know. And I wanted to do something, you know, a little bit different. So I'm going to actually be entering in several erotic slams in the future. And it's going to be with pieces that are just as confusing.
And that's going to be in this next book?
Yeah, there are going to be some pieces that I would say fall along those lines, but they're not going to be traditional erotica.
And you know what?
Yeah.
Putting your fingerprint on erotica and doing it your way is so, I don't use profanity. It's so bad, eh? And I appreciate it. I don't know about I know somebody else out there gotta appreciate it. If you do, put it in the comments. Show him some love, and make sure you throw in those questions. So somebody has a really, really good question. Have you ever wrote anything you are ashamed of? I feel like based on what you're talking about, this is your passion. You should be proud of anything you write, even if it was on some.
You know what? I have written things that I have never read publicly. I've written a lot of things. Most of the things that I've written, I haven't read publicly. I have notebooks of stuff that hasn't seen the light of day, and I don't know what is gonna, happen with it, if it ever will, or whatever. But I was saying I write for myself. I don't write for other people, right? So the best of my stuff is what I tend to, present and, put in print and, you know, recite publicly. But the things that I guess are the works in progress, or the things that I'm not so confident in, are the things that, remain in these different notebooks. So I can't say ashamed of, but I certainly have written things that I'm not proud of to the extent that I want it to go anywhere other than the notebook that it's written in. I have recently written something that I I I always aspire to be fearless in life, and especially in my art. I've written something that is on a hot button issue, and I fear the backlash of um, what will happen when I present the piece. And the piece will be presented, but I have to make sure that it's airtight so that it can be defended in all the ways that it needs to be defended. So art is important, and I think that we are, as artists and creators and creatives, we have a responsibility to push back on popular narratives that may be less than beneficial to our people. And we're in a crazy time right now, and there's a lot of mental illness that's being mainstreamed under the auspice of free thought or progressivism or forward thinking, and it's not beneficial to the Black household, the Black village, in our community. I shouldn't say I don't care what the dominant population does, but it's less my business than what my people do. And we don't have the benefit of falling prey to all of the whims that people that haven't been under bondage for 400 years, have the privilege of participating in. So I'm working on a piece that right now I'm nervous to present because it's not complete and it has holes in it. But once that piece is done, I look forward to presenting it to the world and all the colorful things that'll come up.
It was interesting to hear you say, like, you write your poems for you. We're different in that way. I feel like initially when I start a poem, it's always something that has to do with me specifically. But then by the time I'm like midway through the poem, I'm like, this is not for me. I'm literally writing this poem to motivate somebody else who's probably going to end up going through what I went through, type of thing. Literally, I'm at the point like, these poems are never for me. I'm working on a poem right now that, I don't know if I should say this. I'll say it. I'm working on a poem right now that I started writing to God, and I just realized, like, I have already not a lot of poems, but like I said, I told you earlier that I took a long break that I wasn't trying to take. I just couldn't write. And I was like, I don't have a poem where I express to God like who He is to me, what He means to me. So I'm like, I find myself writing to Him, and the past couple days have been funny. Like the way one of the viewers, she posts a cup from like a coffee shop, and so so first of all, I woke up out of my sleep 2 days ago with a couple lines, and I knew what poem it was supposed to go to. It's the poem that I'm working on. And after I typed it up, because I had to hurry up, I don't want to lose my thought. So I typed it up, and then this show is not about me. I type it up, and as soon as I finished typing it, a story from the Bible like popped in my head, like basically telling me, like, I guess it's rooted in that scripture or something. I don't know. That's how I know, like, God is like writing this poem with me, or it's like But I'm like, how you gonna come in and be trying to take over? And I told you this is supposed to be my poem to you, but it almost seemed like you're writing back to me in the poem. You know, like I ain't like
that's
that.
what you want, though.
I mean, but it's like I'm trying to tell you how I feel. Like, give me a second.
So you need to tell God to let you write your own poem about.
Yeah, let me find the words and figure it out.
Yeah, for sure.
But the girl, my sis, she had posted a cup, and the cup had so when I remember how I said when when I wrote the words, a scripture popped in my head. Well, I didn't know the scripture, but a story from the Bible popped in my head. I said I was going to Google and I don't know the scripture by heart, and I said I was going to look up that scripture to figure out where it is. Yesterday, she posted the cup. The cup has a scripture on there. Do you know it's the same?
Really?
Kid you not.
Wow.
For that story. So I said, okay, guys. So I started working on it the other day, but I just had to say that. Okay, we got questions. I didn't talk to all.
Nah, that's beautiful.
So Mona Files, is that your real last name? I like that. Or is this like something cute you came up with? Have you ever wrote poetry specifically for someone? If so, did they hear it? That's a good question based off what you said earlier. Another good question would be, have you ever written a poem about somebody and not giving it to them or told them about it?
Oh yeah, that's the easy one. Yes, for sure. I've written poems about people that have not. Yeah. Have I ever written anyone for someone specifically and did they hear it? Yes, I've written poems for people over the years. Not even just necessarily like romantic, partners or whatever, but just people that I've, been inspired by. I've definitely written pieces and tributes and those sorts of things for sure.
Oh, okay. I think somebody has a question on top of her question. When you shared it with somebody, what was their response? That's a good, get in his business. I love it.
Most of the time it's, I shouldn't say most of the time, like I'm just like giving like, here you go, you get a poem, you get a poem, you get a poem. But when I have, I usually get a good response because if I care about someone enough to dedicate that sort of emotional space and time to create something for them, then I want it to be done right. And I want it to, I want to say everything that I mean to say. And that takes time and it takes intentionality. So I don't give someone something that if I don't know how they're going to receive it.
Oh, I like that answer.
Yeah.
I gotta say, Mona Files, I like your name. I think that's so cute. I like it's like an Instagram name. Like, oh, welcome to the Mona Files. Like
Mona
at this
Files,
point, you need a show. Like, seriously. Are you a detective? Like, come on now. I love it. The Mona Files.
Okay.
Oh wait, wrong question. Are you a member of the PanAfrican Church? If so, have you shared your art there?
I'm not a member of any church, but I have not shared my art at the PanAfrican Church. But the PanAfrican Church sounds like a place that I need to be put up on because I'm not familiar. So I'm definitely open to having that conversation, and would love to connect with them.
My last question, if no one else has questions.
I wonder, was PanAfrican Church like, does this person mean like a physical, like Pan-African church, or was that a metaphorical, the church of Pan-Africanist brothers and sisters throughout the diaspora? I'm interested in that, because if there is a place called the Pan-Africanist Church that I don't know about, I'm also interested in that. So.
Okay, so let us know. My last question, if no one else has any, when it comes to this poem, I know you talked about like you wanted it to be, subjective and open for whoever, and it'd be a different story every time. But if you had to say there was something that you really want people to take from this poem, what would it be?
That things aren't always what they seem. What you initially might think about something can be something entirely different, and communication and language can be constructed in a way that just because you heard somebody say something, you don't necessarily know what they meant unless you think deeper about it, right? Or unless you hear them say it again, or unless you like really take the time to deconstruct whatever it is that their perspective may have been at the time. So I try to challenge my, poet brothers and sisters to just kind of dig deeper. Um, but I challenge us as a people to dig deeper, as well. We're super talented. Nobody has the rhythm and the connectedness to the universe that we have. But sometimes we don't play that. We don't play our cards to their maximum potential. I also think that people need to listen more than they speak and read more than they write. Like if you're a writer, like sharpen your pen by reading other people's work, not to sound like them, but to develop a control of language and an understanding of how words are put together.
Let me just tell you something. Am I cutting you off?
No.
I literally just posted something like that on my story today.
Really?
You stalking me? And I'm just kidding. No, I literally posted Tupac Shakur. So I feel like you. It's like, no. Yeah. He said something similar to what you said, but then what I said was, you have your eyes are above your ears. Mm-hmm. So your ears are above your mouth.
Say, oh, okay, wait.
Well, mine is. I don't think that's not what I meant. Let me start over. Because this is knowledge right now. Okay, so your ears are above your mouth. That's period.
That's for real.
Yeah. Okay, so listen that's first universal. And speak second.
Yep.
And then I said you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. This is what Tupac said. So listen twice as much as you speak.
Absolutely.
I literally just posted that today.
Absolutely, for sure. For sure. Yeah, no, that's 100% right, man. Because it just, you just add to your arsenal of words. Like there's no, every time I pick up a good book, like a new good book, I learn a word that I didn't know before, And I know a lot of words. I pride myself on knowing words, but it's just like a never-ending adventure. And as Black Americans, we have the unfortunate situation that most of us only speak one language. If you talk to, our African brothers and sisters, you talk to somebody from Nigeria, you talk to somebody from Ghana, they speak no less than 5 languages. So with us,
you better make us think and inspire us right now.
Yeah, we don't even speak our mother tongue, right? We don't even speak our mother tongue. So the one language that we do, unfortunately, that we have been given, I've taken it kind of up on myself to master that, because since I'm not speaking 4 and 5 languages, I can at least figure this one out.
Say hello.
Hello.
I
don't speak 4 or 5 languages. I'm talking about I'm mastering English. I wish. Man, I would have done this whole interview with Swahili if I could have.
Not me hearing something totally different than what you were saying.
So just like the poem.
Look, that's why he told me to listen. Why am I not taking the advice you're giving? Come on now. Got me out here looking crazy.
Too funny.
Has your poetry changed? You see it?
Oh yeah, no. Has your poetry changed thematically from when you started to now? If so, how? Yes, I think a lot of poets come into the game, for lack of I don't know why I'm referring to it as a game, whatever. I feel like we come into poetry either as Black people. We feel like as Black people, we come into poetry one of 3 ways. Either you're in love and you writing a love poem because you love your boo in the 6th grade or whatever the case may be. So I'm writing I love you poem. Or your boo broke your heart, so you wrote a I hate you poem to your boo. Or you
know your worth. So I gotta tell you about something. That was me. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah, definitely.
You wasted my time.
There's the relationship poems, and then there's like the hip hop sort of, based stuff or whatever. You have like the, kids that are writing 16 bars or whatever they're doing. So I think that that was kind of my introduction or whatever. It was not unlike, everybody else's. It was either the I love you poem, the I can't believe you broke my heart, I ain't never gonna talk to you again at the recess poem, and the I'm about to write these bars and rip somebody's head off sort of work. Now I kind of want to write about other stuff. I want to write about things that
divergent.
Yes. I want like a more diverse palette as far as the subject matters that I seek to accomplish, because I feel like every poem I don't know. I just feel like certain subject matters have been covered so thoroughly that creatives can tackle, other issues or at least things in different ways. So I don't want to write the same poem twice. So I guess, EA, to answer your question, um, yeah, it changes every time because I don't set forth in my writing to ever replicate anything that I've ever written before.
Good question, Ian. We love you.
We do.
I love everybody who's thrown in their input and their questions. You guys all have had good questions today. So, if there's no other questions, we're gonna go into the home run so he can tell us more about what he got going on in the city. Because based off of his his long, thick record, Lord Jesus.
We back after commercial break.
Oh, okay. I'm new to this. I told y'all that.
You doing an amazing job. Isn't she doing an amazing job, y'all? Can we get some love in the comments? Like, you are like doing such an amazing job. And you pull this together, like her technical like prowess, like when things were going left, like she was over here like unplugging stuff. We were like blowing on the different like old Nintendo cartridges. We was getting it together. But this sister is incredible, man. Like your ceiling is incredibly high. Like incredibly high. For this to be your third episode, man, like you are doing something so amazing. And the poets that you got are quality. Like when you told me yeah, like you were like, maybe I would like for you to come on. I'm like, hey, you had EA, you got Urban Legend Oversight. Of course I want to come on. So you're doing something just incredible. And it's only gonna get better.
Yay, thank you guys. I appreciate the love. I need it. So tell us about what you have going on in the city and about this book, the other book, just to get us onto another subject.
Oh Lord. Okay. I am the host of a dope spot along with my brother and compatriot Dismantle and my sister Trey Kells. We host a show at Detroit Shipping Company every Tuesday. Today, right, at from 7 until 10. So any Tuesday that like you're like not watching Poets Pitch and you're out, you come and check that out. But we also have dope Wi-Fi there too, so we can watch Poets Pitch and my show at the same time. Like you know what I mean? That's how we do. We a village.
I love it.
For real, we not competing, man. We all in this together, man.
I was gonna say, look, y'all, I know y'all love him after this episode, probably before the episode. For people who knew him before, I definitely wouldn't be mad if y'all don't show up a couple Tuesdays to go see his thing live in person. So
I think there's a lot of potential for some cross pollination, and maybe you come to the show doing a live Poets Pitch. Maybe we can figure something out.
Let me see. Okay, guys. You see, the devil was earlier. The devil was trying. He didn't want us to get here.
Got him up out of here.
He didn't want us to get here because that's the direction I'm going in. I want a live experience. So
no doubt. Yeah, for sure.
Don't play, y'all.
Yeah. So I have that going on. It's so funny because this has been such a crazy week. I turned down the best job offer that I've ever had in my life yesterday for the current position that I have, which I guess means that I'm in a pretty cool space. I'm used to hating my job and I don't so much hate it right now. But I have so many different things, going on, and having a 8 to 5 and also being an artist is just super strenuous, but it's one of those things that, like, while I'm young and have the energy to do it, you got to run full speed in every direction that you're running in. So doing a lot right now. I'm going to be launching, I should say, my website. Super excited for that. Obnoxiously.black.com. It's going to be the one-stop shop for all things obnoxious and black. So pretty much it's going to start off with t-shirts and hoodies and mugs and those sorts of things, pencils, pens, but all things under the theme of obnoxiously black. The beautiful thing about being pro-black, it's pro everybody, right? It's not anti-white. So we're unapologetically black over here. We're obnoxiously black, and it's going to be a really dope brand that I'm looking forward to releasing the next couple of months.
Oh, thanks for telling us here on Poets Pitch. Are y'all excited? I am. Tell them in the comments if you're excited, because I am.
I'm excited.
Yeah. So, okay, so we have this book that you said is available on
Barnes and Noble.
BarnesandNoble.com.
BarnesandNoble.com. COINTELPRO.
Yes, and then your next one is the VERB Apple?
VERB Apples.
Yes, and that one is going to be released sometime next year, so we can look forward to that. But in the meantime, you can purchase this one.
Definitely, man. Get that revolution. Get the revolution before you get the love.
Yeah. Okay.
You know.
Look, he's clever. He been hosting for years. He's just a natural. So I just gotta say thank you so much for coming on to the show as for episode 3. This has been hard, heavy hitters. This is heavyweights, okay? So y'all making it hard for folks to follow, but y'all be coming with it every time. I'm really enjoying this. I'm so grateful that God placed me as the host of this show. Okay. So yeah, make sure you check out his show on Tuesdays from 7 to 10.
7 to 10, Detroit Shipping Company, 464 Peterborough Street. I think that's the address, but Detroit Shipping Company. It's the only Detroit Shipping Company. Just put that in Google and check
that in maps.
Really dope show.
And you'll be there. Yes. So yeah, check that out. Make sure you purchase the book. And when how long do you feel like it'll be before you drop your website?
Website. Oh man, see, okay. I don't want to jinx it. The website
just be looking
coming.
Out.
Yeah.
Follow him on. We can follow you on Instagram, Facebook.
Yep. Follow me on Instagram, Azizi Jasper, AZIZIJAS. No, AZIZIHASANIJASPER.
I'll put it in the bio.
Yeah, definitely put that in the bio. I'm at Facebook or whatever. Follow my artist page, Poet Azizi Jasper. Check me out on Instagram as well. I post a lot of political stuff, but I'm trying to make it more funny now because like people have just been getting mad lately. So you just got to keep
to squeeze it into a poem.
Yeah, I gotta put the medicine in the candy, man. When you make a status, like people will really like hate your life for your opinion, So I'm just gonna be posting about unicorns.
What happened to agreeing to disagree, guys?
Not this generation. So yeah, all the controversy has to be put in the poetry, but I really appreciate this opportunity. You have such an amazing platform. For real, I can tell it's only going up from here. I'm excited to see, what the future brings for Poetry Pitch and for you, man. Poets Pitch. Yes, don't get the title wrong. Poets Pitch, y'all. Poets Pitch. I'm super excited for what your future holds, man, because this is like really dope, and you're doing something that is amazingly important in documenting people who document what's going on in the world, which is poets. So we document the world, but the world doesn't really document us. You're documenting the poets, and that's the niche that I'm really glad that you're filling.
Thank you so much. So you guys, make sure y'all come back next week and every week after that, so we can continue to pitch y'all these great pitches from people like Azizi. Okay. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and again, thank you for coming back after the little technical difficulty. We really appreciate you, and I'm looking forward to bringing you guys more. See you.
Peace.